Welcome once again to Words Have Power. This is your host, Teresa Hawley-Howard. This is another episode of our October Summit. I'm so excited for the women that we've brought you for on this summit because these women are powerful, phenomenal, amazing, and they're really going to speak into your life and give you some tools to use to live the life that you're wanting to live. Welcome to the summit and tell us all about yourself.
Hi, Teresa, and thank you so much for inviting me to do this. Well, I'm Cyndi Robinson Sanders. That's how you can find me on Facebook. I'm Mrs. Sanders to the teens that I work with. And I'm a relationship expansion coach, guiding mature women to ignite their next level of relationships with passion, ease, and grace. And I do this primarily through group coaching via video chat and accountability groups, mastermind groups. So
that's a powerful niche, because sometimes we don't realize that our relationships, whether they be family, whether they be romantic, whether they be business, that they all impact our business, our lives, and they really do have an effect. And going into this holiday season, this is the perfect time for us to get a handle on that and really maybe mind shift it a little, and take control of it.
Well, and I've been working with women since the late 90s. I've been doing transformational work since the early 90s. So I've got almost 30 years behind me of different things that I can draw upon, different teachers I've worked with. Today I was re-listening to some work that I did with Marcy Shimoff on happiness and working and living in the miracle zone. I was blessed to be able to participate in a mastermind group with her a couple of years ago. And it really, there's a key phrase, one word said 3 times that always is in my head, and that is everything, everything, everything. So how we are with our kids, how we are with our husband, how we are with our customers, how we are with the mailman is how we are in that moment with anybody. So as we work and work on our relationships. And my driving goal the last couple of years, I woke up this summer and just said, you know what, I need to just focus on one thing, helping women build themselves from the inside out, because it starts with us. Every relationship, the healthy ones might be healthy because both people are healthy. The toxic ones are in our control to the degree that we respond to them.
Mm-hmm.
So as you mentioned, going into the holidays, sorry, I'm still getting used to being interviewed and you're off to the side and I'm looking at the people watching us.
It's okay. It takes a minute.
It's kind of weird. Anyhow, and this isn't really red. It's really the same color as the fabric behind me, but whatever. we all, this fabric makes me happy. So that's why I do it.
It is beautiful.
So yeah. And I'm inspired when I see women, the light bulb go off, and they go, oh my God, I never thought I had an issue with that, or I thought I had already dealt with it. And the truth is, Teresa, when we work on ourselves, when we as women try and let go of things that have challenged us in the past, stories we've held on to, it only can be released to the degree that we can understand it in the moment. So we have a tendency to beat ourselves up because, you know, whether or not that's verbally, or we just say we're not good enough and we quit a business we barely started because we aren't getting the results everybody else is.
Right.
We tend to compare, we tend to beat ourselves up. And what you have to understand is you're at the perfect right moment to let something release that's holding you back at the moment you're ready to release it. It's not on anyone's timetable. It's between you and the universe, you and God. Everything that we've done in our life has led us up to this point. And I went through a big period of that during this decade, and I'm so happy this decade's over, so I could just like slam the book cover on it. Because in this time period in 2009, I was going through a coaching certification to finally monetize my business from just giving it away for 10 years to now I wanted to make some money and start putting it in the bank for my husband's and my retirement. And so that when he retired, he's 10 years older than me, when he retired, I would have my career fully established. Well, my father died. Then Gary's uncle, which was like a second father, he died a couple months after that. Then his father fell and could no longer live in the house. They wouldn't move out of Arizona. We live in Washington State. So I started having to commute. Luckily, through this, my husband was making good money. Luckily, I didn't have a dog and 3 kids and everything. But whether or not you had a life like mine, where you got thrust into elder care for 10 years, or it's your kids and you've got this burning desire inside you to build a business, it's your relationship with you. So what I've worked through in the last 10 years is building me from the inside out. So now I have the capacity to share with others and let them learn from all my learning. Hopefully, you know, a woman coming in to work with me that's 30, 35, 40 years old won't have to get to 60 to be in the place I am now.
I think it's so true. We go through these lessons in life, we learn from them, and then it's our jobs to empower, instruct, inspire, and help another woman who is not as far down the trail or the path or the journey as we are. And it's a powerful place to be in. But it took some pain moments to get there. We had some moments where we had to let go of toxicity. We had to let go of what was no longer serving us. And as women, sometimes it is hard for us to let go. We want to hold on to the very end just in case he turns it around, just in case that situation changes, just because we don't want people to say we failed at it. We're quick to stop on ourselves, but we're less quick to go up on someone else. We're quick to say, okay, I started that business on Tuesday and here it is Saturday and I haven't even made a sale. I'm so done with that. I'm going to chalk that money up to, you know, live and learn. But we'll wait years on someone who's not treating us right, who's not doing right by us, who's not, you know, fulfilling us and not serving us. But we'll give years to that where we won't give that time to ourselves. And as we reach our 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s, in order to be fulfilled and to live the life we're supposed to, we have to be willing to invest in us and to pour into our own cups and to, you know, take the path to learning and walking through our own junk so we can help other women walk through theirs.
That's so true, Teresa. And the thing that flashed through my mind as you were saying that is the fact that we also wait till the last minute, to the brink of disaster within ourselves before we give ourselves the gift of shifting and changing. For me, it was 7 years, 17 weeks and 7 hours or something since I made the decision to stop drinking. Now, I grew up knowing that my mother had watched her father drink and abuse the family budget and all kinds of stuff when she was a teenager. She lost her mother to cancer at 14. I can't even imagine. My mom's 80 now. I've had her my whole life, but she only had her mom till 14. And her mom was a brilliant, now this is her mom passed in the middle 50s. So her mom was a trained engineer at UC Berkeley.
Oh, wow.
Almost unheard, a very brilliant woman, but yet she stayed in this relationship for the kids, with a husband that obviously had problems with alcohol. And so I never knew my grandparents, and that's about all I know. My mom's not a real revealing woman. She doesn't share a lot about the experiences. But what I also know is that at 17 and pregnant, she had to fly from, my dad was assigned in Newfoundland in the Air Force at the time, to San Francisco to identify the body of her dad, who had died an alcoholic in the streets of San Francisco. So I had this story growing up. Yet when things weren't going my way and I wasn't feeling good enough, it took until 2012 for me to admit that I had a problem. I woke up behind my bank where I knew there was a dumpster I could pee next to because I had been out drinking while my husband was on a business trip. And I realized I was too drunk to drive home. So I was only halfway home. And I risked, rather than risk a DUI, I risked getting arrested for peeing on the dumpster in the parking lot at the crack of dawn. It wasn't quite the crack of dawn, but the bars closed at 2:00 in the morning. Mm-hmm. And I had been drinking and gambling over on the Oregon side. They have the slot machines, 5 or 6 of them in the bars. And I had been doing both things that were very toxic to me. And I did an intervention on myself, and 90%, 99% of the people in my family and 90% of the women in my circles said, "You have a drinking problem?" We are so good at hiding the abuses that we do to ourselves. So when we talk about toxic relationships, it really does start inside. The best place to start fixing how your relationships are working are inside. If you're in an abusive type relationship, you are never, never, never going to see the path out and the need unless it comes from inside you.
So true. I've been there. I stayed 23 years. And until I watched him talking to a grandchild the way he spoke to me daily, until that aha moment when I said, "No, I won't let you take the next generation. You're not going to speak to them like that." And, and the sad part is that I didn't want him speaking to them like that because of what it would do to their psyche, what it would do to their lives. But I had endured 23 years of him speaking to me like that and never, batted an eye. I didn't think I was worth more than what I thought those grandkids were worth. So it had to start with me because no one else can pluck you out of it. No one else can, make you want it more than you want it yourself.
And you talk about those light bulb moments, Teresa. It's that, and that's why right now the toxicity of, I know your broadcast is worldwide, but nobody can avoid, if they watch any sort of news anywhere in the world right now, what the U.S. is enduring in this massive shift of who we have grown up as a country. We had all these values, and it's the same thing in our family. And so we are struggling, and women are being tasked with leading not only ourselves, but our country and our communities. So our self needs to come first so that we can lead our family out of toxic type situations, and we can lead our community, and then hopefully our country and the world. There's a lot of steps that all start with us. And so that's why I named, I recently decided to do a podcast, and I've been doing it on my Facebook page right now called Build You from the Inside Out. And pretty soon I'll be, doing all the little clips and all that stuff, and taking out the extraneous stuff that's time sensitive, and posting them in different places. So I hope women will look for me on Build You from the Inside Out. And it's just small. It's not hour long podcasts. They're maybe 10, 15 minutes at the most. And I give you some tips and hints based on what I'm going through at the time I recorded it, or someone asked me something. So one thing that when we were talking before, that I said I wanted to convey to women is, think about it. There's no awards for suffering.
Amen.
You don't get the gold cup, we don't get to go watch the soccer tournament and all the kids get a ribbon. There is no ribbons being passed out for us suffering through what we suffer through as women. So even in our women's groups, even in our circles, our masterminds or our communities, I started this summer to build a community, and I've just put it on the back burner for right now because I didn't want to put myself in overwhelm. That's a topic for another half hour, how to get through overwhelm. And I know myself well enough, but the community that I want to build is Best Life Dream Team. And it's basically a community of women that it's someplace you can float in and out as you need it. You can look for someone that's been through what you're focusing on right now. It's not, there's tons of groups out there for entrepreneurial women. And in many ways, all of us are entrepreneurial. Some of us just don't get paid for it.
Amen.
A mom's entrepreneurial.
Yep.
She's running a household. She's running a budget. She's doing the grocery shopping. She's paying the bills. That's all the things that entrepreneurs do. Some of us just don't get paid for it. But the focus is not entrepreneurship. It's life. So Best Life Dream Team is somewhere where if you need, your accountant isn't matching with your your goals and what you're doing, you could go in there and say, hey, is there anybody in the Dallas area or the Seattle area or whatever? Who do you know that can help me?
Right.
Type community. So, but back to the awards, I think about the fact that, there's, at least in the US, there are so many people that are incarcerated these days that it's not very many connections deep until we know somebody that is. And for me, it's my nephew in Arizona. Now, let's take the specifics of the Arizona system out of it. But what I want to convey is I've kept myself in jail around something, not willing to release that story for fear of judgment for almost 50 years now. Yet the guys that harmed someone, whether it be hurt them with their car, hurt them with their fist, killed them, molested them or whatever, those guys aren't in prison for 50 years.
Yep.
I didn't get any award for holding that story in until this summer. And at least 3 times in my life that I know of, I thought I had let it go. I thought I had released it, but not until I was in a mastermind this summer that another woman was telling a story from her youth did I realize I had not let it go enough. And Teresa, I don't know about you, but for me, something I learned this summer that I hope women can learn from right now, and listen to this, ladies. The story that you are afraid to tell is the one that will set you free.
So true. So true.
The story you're afraid to tell is the one that will set you free. Teresa, I would guess that when you took the action to leave your relationship, especially with a man you're probably going to have to see the rest of your life anyways because of the familial things, you never felt peace and freedom like you did when you made that decision.
So true. And I know I had left before. I mean, I was the storybook case. You know, those statistics, they are true. And I remember when I left the last time, I knew I was really gone because when I left before, all these things would play through my head like, I paid for that, so I'm going to need to go back and get that out of the house. I'm going to need to have that thing, you know, that piece of furniture, that picture on the wall, whatever it be that was holding me there. I'm going to need those things, you know, for my new life. And when I left the last time, I took my father's military awards, a mirror from her, and I took them like in the car as I was leaving. I think he knew that I was for real then. I put them in the back
less
seat.
than a car's full.
You know, the car was not even full. And I remember when my stepdad, you know, because I had 23 years of marriage, my stepdad went with me to get the rest of my things. He rented a U-Haul. And we could have fit the things that I took with me in the back of a Chevrolet pickup. I mean, it was that simple. Yeah. Because I thought to myself, all these things have memories and moments attached to them, whether it be the furniture, whether it be the home we lived in, that I no longer want to carry with me. So in this moment, he can have it all. You know, they make country music songs about it. She said, give it away. Yep. You know, and so, I mean, in that moment, I knew it was a new me. In that moment, I knew it was going to be a new life. Because never before had I had that peace, and never before had I been willing to let go that far. I was always reattaching. You know, oh, well, okay, I'm gone, but I think I left something behind. Let me come and walk back through one more, you know. And then I would be back in. Next thing you know, a month would go by and I'd be back with him. But when I left that last time, that was it. I knew I was gone. And it was a different feeling. And it was an empowerment feeling because for once, I chose me.
Yep.
And the story that had been written for my life, never had I chose me. My childhood, I didn't choose me. When things happened, I was quiet. When things happened in my teenage years, I didn't make a ruckus. I just be quiet and let it pass by. I didn't stand up for myself. When I was 16 and he was 25 and the first slap came, I didn't tell, you know, I was always that person who, okay, now I've got these children. I want them, you know, their happiness. They need a father. I never had a father.
Or I must have said something to irritate him.
Yeah. I knew he was drinking.
You know, those kind of things. You brought it back. You bring it back on yourself.
Yeah.
So
I would always say, I knew he was drinking. Why did I even try to talk to him? You know, I know that scenario. I know what happens. And so why did I even try to say, hey, the kids need milk? He don't care. They need milk. He's drinking. You know, and so it would always be my fault. That was the record I played in my head. That was the story I told myself. And so when I left the last time, I had to rewrite that record, that story, because those things no longer served me. I was no longer that little girl. And I remember as we stood in the divorce court, you know, there he was expecting to see that 16-year-old little girl that he had married. And here I was, a grown woman, you know, with my own visions, my own dreams, my own voice. And I wasn't giving that back up. And so he knew it was final. Yeah. And yes, you know, you still have to see them. I'm lucky. I call it lucky. I mean, my girls probably aren't, but I'm lucky because my ex is an alcoholic and an addict. So my girls don't associate much with him. So it's not like I have to see him at birthday parties. And my grandchildren live in California. So I go see them. You know, I take a plane, I take a ride out there, I visit them instead of them visiting me. And so I don't have to deal with them as much as other women might have to in their lives.
Well, I know we only have a couple of minutes, and can I give a couple of quick tips?
Oh, yes, ma'am. Go right ahead.
So there's a couple of things that are, you know, if you're old enough, if you're from my generation, when we were young, there were these things called pet rocks.
Yes.
And you would have a sign. This is actually, I didn't realize there was still a price sticker on there, a barcode. But, and this is upside down and backwards. But anyways, it says relax on it. So if I'm going in a situation, or if I'm coaching somebody that's got a lot of negative stuff, I always sit there and I'll either hold a crystal, or I'm not a super big knowledgeable on crystals and aromatherapy, but I've had coaches that are, so I'll put a little scent on there that makes me feel happy, or I'll have a smooth stone in my pocket or something. It doesn't have to be one you paid for that has a word on it, but I have one that has courage and one that has relax on there. So when I'm knowing that I have to let something go and I'm talking with a woman in my inner circle, I may hold on to that courage one for a minute and just know that I've infused courage from the past. Something else that you can do, you mentioned grandkids, and I wasn't blessed with children or grandkids. But the way that I see my friends, the women in my circles talking with their children, talk to you that way. It can be in the shower. You know how to remote control, you don't have to think about how to wash your armpits. So think about how powerful you are. I'm blessed. I'm abundant. I'm graced with the powers of eyes to see the nature out in my world, and I am worthy. I am worthy of the abundance that comes to me. So say the same messages. You have little granddaughters and you teach them to say, I am beautiful in front of the mirror. Why aren't you saying that every day? Because you think you don't need it? Everybody needs it. So those are a couple of simple things. I don't know how much time we have. Do we have another 5 minutes or?
Yeah, we have about 5 more minutes. So go ahead.
So I want to give a couple of things that I really, this is a quiz you can give yourself, and just asking yourself, are you open to receive? There's 5 quick questions, and Teresa, why don't you just answer them in your head and then tell me at the end how many you said yes or no or to. How easily, do you easily receive compliments, or do you dismiss them? Do you say, oh no, this is a dress I just pulled out of my closet, I've had 20 years, when somebody says that's a great dress on you or a good color? Second, do you receive gifts easily? Or do you say, oh, you shouldn't have spent the money on me to give me something? 3, do you let people help you, or do you push them away? The simplest one that comes to mind is at the grocery store. Almost every clerk is taught to ask the customer, do you want to help out with that? So when I teach, I do a lot of work with single women, especially second or third time around single women, and the mature ones. And it's all about understanding ourselves. So in understanding yourself on how much do you let people help you, do you say yes even when it's a gallon of milk? You let the clerk help you? You don't know what you could be saying to him or he could be saying to you. So that's a hard one for most of us to say. Yes, we let people help us. 4th question, do you feel guilty if you start getting things easily? Like you mentioned in your business, we're fast to dismiss it if we don't get a sale from that party. If our entrepreneurship is one of those home party plans and nobody signs up for another party, we're quick to put ourselves down. But are we also the ones that are feeling guilty if you get 4 parties out of that one party? And then the 5th question, how much do you downplay the things that you receive, or do you receive them graciously? Do you say, oh, well, I only got it because so-and-so didn't, or I should really give it to someone else at the church because, I'm so much better off than someone else? That's not really expressing gratitude. That's downplaying the gifts. So unless you can say to all 5, I receive compliments easy, gifts I acknowledge and say thank you for, I accept help when it's offered, and I'll put in there, ask for help when you desire it. 4th, do you feel guilty starting things when things come easily to you? Do you say, thank you, Lord, now I can, more please, the more you receive, the more you can give. And then do you downplay things? So if you said yes to one or more of those, you need help receiving. So find a women's group, find a coach, find someone that can help you through the why. Why do you have that? And it usually came from the lower ages in our life. Maybe that's the pattern our moms and our grandmothers had. It may be as simple as that. Or it could be the monologues running in your head from back then, where I don't know in a faith-based way what someone to say, but greed comes to mind. Don't be so greedy, You don't have to be so
Or
greedy
prideful.
or prideful. That's a good one. So work on that. The other thing is, I don't think we really have time for this, but one that I run through my head very quickly is what I learned from Marcy Shimoff about living in the miracle zone, living as if you deserve all the miracles that happen to you, and seeing the miracle in even little things. You're super tired, you're in a rush, yet that one parking spot that isn't marked handicap is open in the front of the grocery store, and you get it. That's a miracle you asked for and received, even though you didn't say, give me the parking spot. You could probably say, make this trip easy peasy parcheesi, and be open to receiving whatever the universe or God sends you. They know you needed it. You were appreciative of their influence in your life, and there it was. There's your gift, your little mini miracle for the day. The party that sold twice as much as the hostess was expecting. And so therefore your commission and your ability to buy gifts to give away at other parties and stuff like that, your business benefits from it. So
true.
Just being responsible for both the good, not only the bad in your life.
That's so true. Now tell us what you have coming up.
Okay, so as I mentioned, I coach women, second time around women. Sometime in November, the first part of December, I'm going to be starting a group, and I do these for about 3 months at a time, a couple of times a year. And that is helping women. I call it build you, he will come. Now, in this day and age, I'm old school. I still use the relationship as a she and a he. Okay. Right. But it can be for anyone, because it's not about the men. It's not about the partner. It's about making sure you're ready before you step into your next relationship. Yeah. So it's a relationship group for single women, primarily single women. And then I have a mastermind group I'm starting that will have a retreat in April. I think it's we finalized on the 3rd week of April 2020. And that's going to be up in what I call God's wonderland of nature in New Hampshire, up in middle New Hampshire. We're just going to get away for 2 or 3 days. But before that, we're going to have some Zoom sessions. So that 15 women max is what we can take, including myself. So I've already got 3 spots filled. So about a dozen more women will be joining me, and I'll be launching that November 1st on my website, cindysanders.com. I'll also mention it in the Build You from the Inside Out. And this is to up-level our relationships. So we'll do a little bit on relationships and a lot about self-relationships. Okay, so building ourselves up so that when we didn't get a chance to talk about the holidays and the relationships, but depending on when you're seeing this, you may be right in the middle of my free offering up on Facebook, and I have a group, and it'll have lessons, and you can take them anytime about the holidays, just little exercises you can do before you go, before you get on that plane where you're flying to Thanksgiving, and this one's going to trigger you that way.
Yeah.
Nobody triggers us, we trigger ourselves. So
Right.
let's work on it and practice our responses before we get there. So that's going to be just, if you just go to Build You from the Inside Out, or look on Facebook for Cyndi Robinson Sanders. I have two, one that says coach and author, and one's my personal profile. Anytime, if you're going into something and you've just now heard this and you're going into something, go up there and messenger me. If I'm not dead asleep, I'm going to answer, and I will give you a little exercise to work through for that. But if you want to work one-on-one and start peeling back those things that that are encumbering you, because believe me, I could coach you on business, but it's not my expertise. But if you work on you, your business will expand. And that's why I'm a relationship expansion coach, because all those relationships will be expanded when you work on you.
So true. Now give us your website one more time.
So the website that I'm relaunching Cyndi Sanders, C-Y, and I spell it different, so thank you for asking, CYNDISANDERS.com. On Facebook, I'm Cyndi, C-Y-N-D-I, Robinson, R-O-B-I-N-S-O-N, Sanders. And I leave that Robinson in there, my middle name, because my dad never had sons. So it kind of is my way of honoring my father and everything I learned from him. So my profile is there. I'm not really into Instagram yet, but I may be by the end of the year. Let's see. And you know what? I'm going to give you my phone number, but text me if you've heard this. And this is just for your audience here. It's out there enough, but if I don't know who it is, I pretty much let it go to voicemail. And that's area code in the US. So 1-503-314-1151. Text me. Tell me you heard me on here and you want to have a consult and see how I can help you through something, and we'll put together a program. So this has just filled me up for the beginning of a week. We're talking, Teresa and I, on a Sunday, and this is just starting my week out great. So thank you.
Thank you so much for being on the show and for sharing with us. We all need to realize that our relationships do affect our business, and they affect every aspect of our life. But more importantly, we affect every aspect of our life. How we show up in those relationships, how we react, and how we stay or don't stay in those toxic situations really affect the bottom line and our life. And so thank you so much, Cyndi, for sharing with us and for being on the show. Thank y'all for listening once again to Words Have Power. This is Teresa Hawley-Howard, your host. And remember, your words have power. Use them to change the world.